So, Stephen D here on Pure 24/7 Radio, and we are once again joined by our good friend Bob Goody. Hello, Bob.
Hello, Stephen. I'm here for part 12 of 12. How
Yeah,
exciting.
it is exciting. It's also, I suppose, a little bit sad as we come towards the end of these conversations. We've chatted about all sorts of great stuff to do with rural missions, what you get up to, and how people might reach out into the local community. And last week, you shared your testimony of how and why you're so passionate about what you do, and that was really powerful. So, thank you for bringing that to us last week. And today, where would you like to take the conversation?
So, I think we've been building up to a moment, and across our last 12 weeks, we've been exploring the church and some of the things it does well, some of the things it doesn't do so well. So, I thought, being the last one, I thought the theme of why am I still hopeful for the future of the church?
Okay. Why there is still hope for the future of the church. I think oftentimes I've heard it said, and some people seem to believe that the church is dying or that Christianity is a smaller religion. Some people seem to allude to this, but I think from what we said, even some of our earlier conversations, that is most definitely not the case. So, I mean, the broad question is why do you have hope for the church, for the future of the church?
So I think there are lots of reasons why we should have hope for the future, because the church is still in the job of changing lives, for the first point. Like, if I just take my own story that I shared last week and the countless stories of churches that have done stuff to engage their community, have helped people find Jesus across these last 12 weeks that we've been chatting, I think just simply that it changes lives. There is nothing as powerful as the gospel.
Yeah.
Like, what it really means at its heart. And the last few weeks as a church, so I help lead a church in my spare time, Ashwood Church here in Kirkby and Ashfield. We've been doing the God's Book course by Andrew Ollerton that works for the Bible Society. And it's basically exploring the 7 toughest topics in the Bible. And this last week, when we were discussing it, he was getting us to explore that the Bible is bookended. Peace at the very start. So we have Genesis, God creating everything perfect and luscious, God creating us in his image, and this perfect state of peace where the lion and the lamb lay down together, and there was just God walking in the gentle breeze of the garden alongside Adam and Eve, and this perfect peace moment, and that at the end of it all there will be peace once more. And we're in this turbulent period in the middle where things aren't as God would intend for us. But it really does give me hope, knowing that peace is coming, that there will be an end to war, an end to suffering, an end to pain and hurt and disease and famine. And in the midst of that, whilst we're in this waiting period, we get to see glimpses of it today.
Yeah.
We get to see story after story of people meeting Jesus and being set free from addictions, being set free from past hurts and regrets and experiences, and actually being transformed into a much better place, this place of hope and joy and peace and strength and fulfillment. So, number one, the church has a powerful thing, and so it will remain, because nobody transforms lives like Jesus does.
Yeah, that's the thing. Every bit of conversation that we've had around reaching out into the community, we talked about Jesus, who God is, and how He can transform lives, and that is kind of the heart of the matter. That God transforms lives. That God is God, and we are serving a very real God. So it's not. This isn't something made up. We're not just gathering for the sake of it. There's something real going on. I think we talked about that before, actually. How there's something very real behind this, and that's what brings hope. So there's hope for the church because we have an amazing hope to bring to people.
Mm. Yeah, and in my travels, because leading an organisation like Rural Missions means that I'm often on the road out in the countrysides and lanes all over the country, I love the fact that every time I go into a village, there is some Christian presence. I'm yet to find a space that has been left vacant, because God is still in the business of changing lives, and he's not leaving a place void. And I think way back in week 4 of our conversation, Stephen, I even said that God doesn't leave a space empty. He will always leave a guardian over it. And if we can rekindle that hope within the people remaining in their villages, in their streets, in their communities, and this isn't just about rural, this is about everyone. If we can rekindle some of that hope that we once had, what hope could we take to others? Because if we had such great news, which we do, you can't help but share it with someone. Like my brother at the moment, David, he's currently undergoing cancer treatment. So a few years ago, he was diagnosed with bowel cancer, and he had surgery. The cancer was removed, and he's in remission from that. But then he came down with liver cancer, and they basically told him there's not really much hope, but if you have chemo every other week for the next maybe 2 years, it will give you 2 years. We're at the end of those 2 years, and he's currently undergoing tests to get a liver transplant, something that's unheard of, because his cancer is minuscule right now. They didn't think they would be able to get any of it gone, never mind to a point where they're actually considering a transplant. And so he's holding himself back because he's like, I've got hope in this. I've got this moment in front of me. And he's trying not to get his hopes too high, because he's like, who knows what will happen? But my wife, Beck, and I, as the Christians in the family, keep saying, well, you do know that our entire church have been praying for you since the day you got bowel cancer, never mind this liver cancer nonsense. And I'm not saying that that prayer solves everything. Like, life is rubbish at times, and God can heal everything, and he will do ultimately at the end of it all. But for now, there are certain pangs that we have to go through, and those certain hurts. So we hold that hope for him in the midst of what he's facing, and that hope is about to come true. Or that's what we're intending, that he's going to get this transplant, and for the first time in 5 years, he can go back to working on the ambulances that like he used to. So there is hope, and as a Christian, I am a carrier of that hope. So the future of the church rests on Christians going, actually, I've got something here. Maybe I need to start talking about this a bit more often.
It's like coming back to that first love, I suppose. People use that expression, that phrase, and it makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, basically, people, if you're in the church, you're part of the body of Christ, you have a relationship with Jesus, then you have a peace and a hope which you can share with others. And so, if you're sort of struggling to know how you might reach out into the community, struggling to know how there's any hope left for the church, well, come back to the heart of the matter. Come back to that first love for Jesus Christ, who has saved us from what we've done wrong and offers us, as you say, that hope, that peace, that hope for the future, eternal life with him is what we're doing this all for.
Yeah. And so God is still in that business of changing lives and restoring hope. So for me, that's reason number one, that I've got hope for what the church looks like in the future. Number two, we've talked about over the weeks, is that people are more spiritually open than any time in recorded history. Like, if you look at top recorded Google searches, if you listen to conversations that are going on the streets, people are desperate for truth. People are desperate to understand what life is about. They're looking for what it is. And so I would say that we're in the most spiritually open season than we've ever had before, which means that people are turning up on the doors of churches going, tell me, what is it? Tell me this truth. Tell me this hope. Tell me this restoring gospel that you've got. And I think I mentioned it previously, but I do a lot of training of youth workers and children's workers. And I always had an illustration of, imagine a young person walks into your church and says, "What is this place?" What would you say to them? And that was always a hypothetical. But pretty much every church I talk to now say, a young person randomly turned up in our church and asked us, "What is this place all about?" And you go, again, that is why I'm hopeful for the future of the church, because God is drawing people back to himself. People are spiritually open, spiritually hungry. And if some of our churches aren't willing to go out to them, then they're turning up on our doorstep going, if you're not coming to me, I'm coming to you then. And that gives me hope for the future of the church.
Yeah, it is interesting. I think I've heard about this before, the amount of sort of the fact that we are spiritual. There's a need for something spiritual. A lot of people will go to all the wrong places looking for something spiritual. They'll go to all kinds of religions, all kinds of different things. And actually you can see people coming to the church, coming to God, thinking they want something spiritual. They know there's something missing. They know there's sort of a gap. They don't necessarily know what it is. That's why they're asking those questions, asking, what is this place? They're curious. There's a want to know. As you say, they're spiritually open.
Yeah. So there's 2 great points. We could leave it there, but I'll be honest, I have written 5 points. So,
okay,
like any good Christian, I've got to get through all my 5 points. And so I think, again, young people are more open than we think they are. In this world that people are spiritually open, actually, we look around at young people especially, and I know so many young people at the moment that are having digital detoxes, that are coming off social media platforms, that are turning off their TikToks and their YouTube Reels and all of these because they're not finding what they're looking for. We have entered into this digital space, and then the young people are starting to withdraw back out of it because they're looking for real connection once again. And so we thought gone were the days that they'd be down the park and meeting in people's houses, but those days are coming back.
Yeah.
Like, they are so open to what life looks like. And again, in this world of misinformation and false news and people purporting truth all over the place, they want people to be honest with them, to bring a sense of reality. And again, the church is a place of reality. Like, everything we build ourselves on is a book that's written over 1800 years ago, some parts 4,000 years ago. And so we still stand true to what this says. So young people are open, and more churches that we're talking to, again, I've shared they're doing hot chocolate stops outside their buildings, inviting young people to come and have a drink as they walk back from school. Like, as we're entering the summer, more are doing ice cream stops. But what a way just to bless, encourage, and to welcome young people into a safe space to just come and be themselves. I shared last week that was the pinnacle for me. Someone was interested in who I was, not what I was bringing to the table, or what my background was. They just wanted me to feel safe and loved and secure.
Yeah. It's interesting what you were saying about children wanting to come back to reality. I did see a meme on this, and it was past generations using the internet to escape reality, and nowadays people are using reality to escape the internet because of how much digital information is around us in jobs, in school, in all of life. We're sort of so reliant upon the internet, so we want to come back to reality, and part of reality is those spiritual needs we've been talking about.
Yeah, and I saw a great picture the other day, and on the front of a magazine that I read called Pure Magazine, or Pure Men's Mag as well. I've got both subscriptions. It's well worth investing in if you want to go and have a look. But I love the fact that there is just this label on the front that this is not AI generated. And we are in a world where I have no idea some of the stuff that I see in front of me, whether ChatGPT's written it whether Canva's AI'd it and made the pictures for me. Like, everything has just been generated and AI'd so much for us nowadays that actually bring a dose of reality. Like, this is actually what I sound like, or this is actually what I think, rather than this is what ChatGPT tells me I think. Like, I think we are losing some of that connection because we're so reliant on the AI stuff. And don't get me wrong, I do use it myself. I think it's a great tool, but I only use the output when I put the right input into it.
Yeah. So yeah, as we can definitely see, people are wanting to get back to reality, and so a lot of it is going back to some old school ways. And if you look back 100 years ago, most of the UK would have been going to churches, rural churches as well. It was kind of a normal part of everyday life, and I think that is something of what we're seeing is people going back to the old school ways of doing things because they rather worked actually, and a big part of that was everyone was in their local community going to a church. And so there's, as you say, there's a spiritual needs, and it's just as true amongst younger people. We can underestimate how open they are.
Yeah, and I think the statistics are interesting because I would say 20 years ago, people would tick Christian on a census box because we're a Christian country and all those kind of things. And the reality is they weren't a Christian. They thought they were because they went on a Christmas service or an Easter service once a year. And that's not what makes you a Christian. And so I think we're finally at a point in our country where people, when they see the word Christian and they said, tick this if you are one, they're actually ticking it if they are. There is a more conscious decision to tick it because, yes, I go to church, or yes, I believe in Jesus. Like, going to church doesn't make you a Christian, just like eating at McDonald's doesn't make you a Big Mac, that kind of scenario.
Yeah.
But I think we are in a world where, because we are so purposeful on what truth is, we want to be truthful when we tick a box as well. So the statistics do show that there has been a decline and a drop, but I think those statistics are now starting to creep back up because we've lost the cultural Christian label and we're now moving into the I'm a believing Christian label.
It's one of those occasions where something that seems bad is actually possibly a good thing. The fact how society has sort of changed a little bit. People don't just call themselves Christians as much as they used to, more likely to actually mean it, which is actually, when you stop and think about it, a positive thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So point 4 on my why I'm hopeful is because in my experience as rural missions, because our job is to go and support those small rural churches. So we do that in a whole number of ways, from our free consultation service to our advisory stuff, to our networks, to our free resources, to our training. Like, everything we do is to re-equip them to start going to share Jesus with their communities in small, meaningful, intentional ways. And I think the reason I get hope for the church, and especially the rural church, is because I've seen so many rediscovering their purpose. So many churches are just in this maintenance mode of, I've got to keep the bell ringing, I've got to keep the Sunday service happening, we've got a roof to repair, all those kind of things, which are good to have, but that's not what the church is for. The church is for sharing Jesus and then building each other up in that community. So I've seen so many churches rediscover that purpose, and they will still do the bell ringing, they will still make sure the roof stays on, but they're also now starting to share Jesus. And I've got many a church that have seen, and it's not necessarily about the bums on seats mentality of church, the numerical growth, but pretty much every church we've ever worked with has seen numerical growth because they've gone, well, if we're intentional in this, if we're intentional in sharing who Jesus is, then that's what's going to make the difference, and it is making a difference.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. Sometimes, because someone's doing the right thing doesn't mean success isn't always how we would like to envisage it. If you're doing the right thing before God, that doesn't mean you're going to have loads of people coming into your church. But if you are doing the right thing before God, you can see lots of people coming into your church. It doesn't always guarantee that. You can't necessarily reverse engineer it, but you can definitely see some growth as a result of doing the right thing before God and coming back to, as you say, that purpose, the real heart behind it.
Yeah. And because they've got that purpose, the point five is people are more outward looking again. They're
Yeah.
no longer insular. What is it about me? Like, I've been in this church for 80 years and I don't want things to change. Actually, there is such a shift now to going, we want to see change because we recognize our church is about to die out. And unless we pass this on to the next generation, then what has all this been for? So they're outward looking. They've got a renewed sense of purpose. They're more open than we believe people are, and people are spiritually hungry and spiritually searching. And of course, God's in it. God's changing lives. So the church is hopeful. The future's bright. The future's Jesus.
Absolutely. What you're saying about how people are coming more outward as they come back to that purpose. If you're looking more outwards and you're looking at the people around you, those people are more likely to come in. So it's kind of, in order to grow, you have to not be too selfish about your own situation, what you want to see happen in this church, but looking outwardly to the people that might actually want to come in and making them feel welcome, making them feel valued, is such an important part of that. So, as you say, coming back to that purpose and looking outward, not just inward.
Yeah. So if anyone listening would value a conversation with Rural Missions about how can we refine this purpose, how can we become outward looking again, how can we reinstill a sense of hope and vision into our church to see communities transformed, then everything we offer comes at no cost to the church. So please do just head to ruralmissions.org.uk, check out what we do and get in touch. We'd love to support you, bless you, encourage you, and release you to see your community transformed in Jesus' name. So, Stephen, thank you so much for these last 12 weeks. It's been such a joy and a privilege to be able to share about what we do, about why I do it as well. And obviously our relationship continues to flourish as you can now find my wonderful dulcet tones over on Pure Brunch, Wednesdays, 10 till 12.
Absolutely. It's been an absolute pleasure these last 12 weeks chatting with you, talking about some amazing stories that you shared with us from people in rural settings, reaching out to the people around them, some really practical solutions that seem quite simple that you've shared with us, and the amazing resources at ruralmissions.org.uk, which I have memorized. It's a really good place to go and check out and to find out more. So thank you for joining us these past 12 weeks. Thank you for bringing your great insight. And as I say, the really great stories that you've brought to us as well. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. So if you love stories, then do join me, Pure Brunch, on a Wednesday, 10 till 12, because I actually have a segment called Faith in the Everyday where I'm going to be interviewing somebody every week. Ordinary lives, but amazing wisdom. So do come and have a listen. If you love to hear stories of hope and future and love and joy, then do come and join me for that.
Absolutely. I know I will be. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Here at Pure 247 Radio, we've had the privilege of speaking to some amazing people with some amazing stories.
I was about 5k off the coast paddling, and I was watching this storm on the land, and it literally hit a mountain, and rather than just going over the top of it, just turned and just came straight at me. You can't stay on the board in that instance, so I literally am jumping off the back of the board. I've got everything tethered down on the board, and I'm just holding on to the back of the board.
As I walked in, there was a fight going on the floor. There was a police sergeant sailing over the desk to help with restraining somebody. And the doors were clanging shut, all the big metal gates, and there were alarms going off and radios. And I felt this most enormous peace come over me because I realised that this is where God wanted me to spend my career behind bars.
It was like a baptism of fire, and it was like the most socially deprived council wards in Britain. And then we were going into schools, and then kids were coming to the gigs, but then knocking on my door at night, and I was out there playing football till 11:30 p.m. at night, 12 o'clock, feeding kids, running youth clubs.
If you've missed an inspiring conversation and want to catch up, or you'd like to revisit a brilliant interview, you can. Our interviews are available on YouTube and podcast, so you can always catch up anytime you like. Search for Pure 247 Radio wherever you get your podcasts, or find our YouTube channel at Pure 247 Radio, or head over to www.pure247radio.org/catch up.